What's going on, everyone? Chris here with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal, and today I just want to talk a little bit about how I like to push everything when it comes to the fall and or winter season. Now, yes, I'm in Florida. It is sunny out. We have no sight of snow. I have my hoodie on because it is 65 degrees outside, and for me, being born and raised in South Florida, that's a little chilly, just enough for me to want to wear a hoodie just for comfort. But our services do slow down a little bit in the fall. I usually have a pretty busy December, but typically my September, October, and November are kind of very wavy, and then we hit into next year. Usually February is a little meh. March is kind of weird. It's either really good or really bad. And then it starts picking up in April and May because that's spring cleaning time. And then, of course, summer is usually always busy for everybody. So, although we don't have winter shutdowns, we still do see service slowdowns, at least down in my area. So, just like everybody else, I like to prepare for that slowdown, whether it's trying to cut back on expenses, maybe open up more services, or push for marketing that's a bit cheaper and or free. So, I want to talk about the ways that I do it, some of the ways I picked up from the moving companies from the past, the way they kind of push for stuff because they see the same slowdowns, and everybody does something a little bit differently. They start cutting back on expenses. They try to find ways to upsell their daily products, and they market for free, and they push for marketing heavily because you're slower. You have the time to allow your employees to go out to do so. So we're heading to the dump right now to drop off a load that we had yesterday, and we will go over some of these details when we get there. We just weighed in at the dump 1,160 pounds, which is $24.36. Now, getting into some of the things for not so much just saving, but preparing and working at a more efficient process when it comes to doing all the background stuff that I have found to be helpful and that I've learned from others. Number one, time is your best friend and your worst enemy. Time never stops, just keeps on going. So you can either utilize that time to make more money, or you can let it get away from you and end up spending more money. It goes both ways. It only goes one way itself, but for cost purposes, it can go both ways. So the way that I would try to cut back on time is by doing daily operations, right? Try to categorize your stuff you're doing, or block out a schedule so you can get more done versus trying to do things all over the place and you end up kind of slowing down in one category or procrastinating in another. Try to bang things out in groups. So over the course of a day, you can get more done, which may open up your schedule more for like tomorrow or later in the week or next week even. But trying to maximize the time you put into your tasks can help you as an operations greatly, especially if you're running the jobs yourself as well. The second thing for time is to utilize it to your advantage on job sites with marketing. So, for example, you're going out to do a job, or your employees are going out to do a job. That job should be paying for their time to get to that job and back, regardless. So now, when your guys are going out, or you, maybe put out some yard signs, put out some door hangers. On the way to the job, have your guys leave 15 minutes early. Say, hey, stop at like 2 or 3 different gas stations on your way. Put a yard sign by the entrance. When you get to the client's house, you do the job. You ask them if you can put a yard sign in their front yard for their neighbors. If they live in an HOA, they may not be able to, but you can ask. While you're there, if it's not HOA, maybe put some door hangers on doors. So real quick, 10, 15 minutes. Doesn't take long to go put a door hanger on a doorknob and walk away. When your guys are leaving, say, hey, spend the next 20 minutes putting yard signs out. Don't just put them all in one little like clustered area. Try to spread it out a little so you can maximize how many people are actually seeing your sign. But you have intersections, you have gas stations, put them near storage units, put them out by busy plazas like Walmarts and Home Depot, stuff like that, and just have them do it on their way. They don't have to drive around in circles wasting time and fuel, but they can do it on their pattern back. So if they're heading to the dump and there's a Home Depot like the next block over, say, hey, take this way and go by the Home Depot and put out a yard sign. Or even go sit out by the Home Depot for 5-10 minutes because at that moment you're going to be an acting billboard for those 5 or 10 minutes that you're sitting there to anybody driving by. It's not a lot of time, but it's better than nothing. All you need is one person to see your truck and say, oh, I could use you, snip, and then they give you a call. The other thing I would say when it comes to time is to figure out what's worth it for you cost-wise when it comes to donation and dumping. And I say this not to like push people away from wanting to donate, but more for a pure cost like purpose. So what I mean by this is, for me, it's been really hard to donate stuff down here. And I sometimes have to go to 2, possibly 3 places to donate something. But to go to one place, wait in line, get there, for them to say, yeah, we're not taking that. All right. Pack everything back up, leave, go to the next place, which is usually 10, 15 minutes away. Same process. If I have to go to a third place, I'm looking at over an hour and a half of time and fuel just to donate something. At that point, I would rather just go dump it, honestly, like cost-wise. It's going to end up costing me a minimum pickup worth of money to donate something versus just getting rid of it. If 3 donation places don't want it, like there's only so many other options you have. So what I would do is, unless it's like a full truckload and it's really heavy and I think it's going to cost more money to dump it than it is to drive around, and this may be different for your area, keep that in mind too. My dump fees are $42 a ton. So for me to dump, it's usually cheaper than driving around just for 10 minutes because I end up using the same amount of gas. So if your dump fees are $150 an hour or $150 a ton, it may be worth it for you to try to donate as much as possible. But if they're cheap, like ours, it might be better for you to just get rid of it. Does it suck because you're dumping probably good stuff? Yes, but it kind of goes with the game. But that usually, like, if one place turns me down, and I don't even go to Goodwill anymore. I go straight to Habitat for Humanity because they're much more lenient about stuff. The next step is Salvation Army. If Habitat turns me down without even thinking about it, I just go to the dump. If they're like, normally we would, but we're kind of full right now, I'll stop by the next place because that's just an inventory problem on their end. But if they look at the piece and they're like, no, then I just go. So that's just a way for me to save money and fuel, especially if I have my helper with me. Fuck that. Paying somebody $30-$40 an hour to drive around and get turned down for donating pieces, like it's not worth it. It sucks, but it's not worth it. For marketing, let's get into marketing a little bit. Free sources and or cheap sources. Marketing, there's a lot of stuff out there. I would honestly just Google junk removal marketing or free marketing for small businesses, and you're bound to find a list of like 50 plus ways to market. And there's a lot of them out there. Some of them are like literally they're just putting stuff out there just to put out ideas, but there's some good ones out there. Of course, you have social media. Nextdoor and Facebook are probably going to be your most prominent. Instagram, I think, is more for looks unless you're able to connect with local businesses through Instagram. And then Yelp, I think, is more for just people who look you up and find you through like Google searches, kind of like Google My Business, unless you have like ads running on there or something. And then, of course, you have Google My Business. If you don't have one, you should have one, because every time somebody Googles your name, that's going to be the first thing that pops up. That is a powerhouse of leads for free. So there's Google My Business, Yelp, Nextdoor, Facebook. I would at least be on those. If you want to hop into like Angie's List and TaskRabbit and Home Advisor and all that stuff where it's kind of paid leads, but they're kind of cheaper, it's up to you. I don't personally do any of that stuff. And then the next thing would be, as mentioned with the saving the time, yard signs, door hangers, those are both pretty cheap items. It doesn't sound cheap when you buy it at first, but if you think about the cost per an item, for a yard sign, for example, if you go to UZ Marketing, you can get 100 yard signs with stakes for about $289, free shipping. And if you think about it, that's about rounded up $3 a sign. But that one sign sitting on an intersection is being marketed to hundreds to thousands of people as they're driving by. So you have to think every single sign collectively, you're probably seeing over 100,000 people, depending on how long they're staying up for. That is a large pool of people to potentially get a couple of calls from. And if your average job is, let's say, 300 to 400, that just paid for the whole batch of signs, plus you still got 99 more to go. So yard signs can be a cost up front, but cheaper in the long run. Pie sign. And then you have door hangers. You can get door hangers on UZ Marketing as well, and also Vistaprint. Pretty cheap. Not the cheapest for what they are, but pretty cheap. Every time you go to a community that's non-HOA, walk around and put them on the doorknobs. And you might get yelled at once or twice, but, business is business. But you would do that, run around, put out some door hangers. Now you're marketing directly to the neighbors of the house you just serviced, which could be a good referral. Ghost routes. I've talked about those before. A ghost route is essentially you just driving around aimlessly, basically doing truck branding. Now, you don't have to do a full ghost route where you're driving around a certain pattern. You can just go park out by, this is what I used to do as well. Instead of doing a ghost route where I'm just driving around nonstop, I would drive to like my local gas station, hang out there for 15, 20 minutes, turn the truck off and just sit there with the windows down. Go to the Home Depot 5 minutes away, park the truck, maybe go walk around at Home Depot. You don't have to leave your truck running. Just park there, go look around, go look at, trash cans and hand trucks and stuff, crap you might need for the business. Just try not to spend money on it. And then, maybe drive off to like a busy Walmart plaza or something. You're putting your truck, which is a giant temporarily billboard for free for people to see as they drive in and out, especially Home Depots and Lowe's and stuff like that. People are usually there doing a project. Most people that are there end up getting overwhelmed at the project they chose to do. They're already spending a lot of money. They're having to go back for the fourth and fifth time. Usually junk removal falls somewhere in play with home projects. So that's an option as well. The next thing would be marketing yourself to buildings with business cards, flyers, whatever you want to do. Go by apartment buildings. Ask them if you can leave cars behind. If you want to ask for a vendor position, if you are insured and licensed, go for it. If not, just ask to leave cars behind. Go to senior living facilities. Go to storage units. Go stop by local gas stations and say, hey, whether you did or you didn't, just whatever, it's a situation. Just say, hey, we did a junk removal for a local gas station where we had to go pick up the debris out back because the city was going to find them. If you guys ever have that situation, give us a call. You can go by your local stores that have a closing soon sign. Most places, I think, are kind of commercially, connected. But I see people all the time, Lugaway just did, or not Lugaway, LugSearch. Dave, I get them confused with the other guy. Dave just got a Kroger account. They're doing 4,000 to 6,000 per store, and they have all the stores in their area, which is a lot. So there's things like that where you just got to get that one store that connects you, and then you work with all of them. So don't leave out your commercial places. Go by your stores and say, hey, we do junk removal if you guys ever need to get rid of any of your merchandise out back, or extra replenishment now that the holidays are coming up. I used to work retail. Our the compactor that collects the cardboard would get overfilled daily, and we'd have to put everything out by the dumpster behind it. And then when the next week came around, we would put it all back in. And it's double stepping, but it's what they had to do. They didn't have other options. So go by your local retail stores, like Michael's Craft Stores, Target, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and just ask. It doesn't hurt to just ask. The worst they're going to say is no. But maybe they say, no, we don't, but you could try so-and-so. Now you have a recommendation. So give that a shot. You can also go by realtor offices, and you can contact realtors directly on social media and just say, hey, we do junk removal. This is, where we are. This is services we handle. This is typically how we help other realtors. Go ahead and, can I go over here? Nope. All right, we're going all the way down. Okay. I just ran over something. What did I run over? I don't know. Hopefully my tire doesn't go flat all of a sudden. All right, we're going all the way down. Okay. I just ran over something. What did I run over? Oh, no. Hopefully my tire doesn't go flat all of a sudden. Reach out to your realtors and say, hey, we do work for realtors. Usually when they have closings or their clients leave stuff behind, we go in, clean it out so you can get your pictures done. You can get your whatever done. Where are you honking at? Let me back up. Look at that perfect backup. I've gotten so good with backing up the trailer ever since I started. Alright, we will be back. Alright, we're done. I was a little wonky in there. So, getting back to the savings, although I just contradicted myself by saying for time purposes, donation may not be in your favor, but if you're in a place where your dump fees are really high and you have some decent stuff in your trailer or your truck and it's more than a decent amount of it, like more than like a quarter or more than one piece, it may be very worth it for you to go try to donate it first. Or bring it by a consignment shop and have them pay you for it. It might not be a lot, but it's better than nothing. Plus, you're saving money on the dumping, which is going to lead us into the next point, scrapping. If you have a scrapyard near you, you have to store it to keep it at your house, your warehouse, or somewhere to keep it, maybe a storage unit even. Look into scrapping. It's not the most properest thing out there, unless you're like hardcore, taking everything apart, really going down at it to the T. But in general, if you have a pretty good sized load and a lot of it is metal, if you were to bring it to the scrapyard, depending on what state you're in, you have to figure that you're not only being paid to get rid of it, but you're also saving on the dumping. At least for me, typically if I have a bunch of metal in my truck, they're going to charge me for construction debris, which is usually a little bit more expensive than my trash is. So I'm not only getting paid to get rid of it, but I'm also saving on the dumping. Now, I wouldn't go every single time you get metal because it's not going to be worth the trip. But save it up for a month and then go with a full load. You'll probably get a couple $100 for it. Plus, that's money that you're saving by not dumping it. A really good person to check out on YouTube would be Andy Weiss. I'll link his channel in the description. But he's very thorough with his business and how he does scrapping. Like, they do it on a mass scale. Like, they're sending Gaylords out to these places, like, in bulk. A Gaylord is a huge, like, commercial-sized bin that you can fit a pretty good amount of stuff in. So to have that be in metal in, like, different categories, like copper, brass, aluminum, and he goes really in depth. So he's just a good source to learn from in general. Plus, he has a successful junk removal business. So I would just look into his channel just in general. But he's really good to check out. But scrapping can definitely be a good way to save money and or make money. And the more time you want to invest into it, of course, the more money you can make because you can do things more detailed. But I would definitely do the scrapping if possible. The next thing would be to try to add on services when it gets slower. So I wouldn't say to go out and do anything that would be kind of going against your insurance policy per se. But like, I've talked to somebody in the past and I was like, hey, why don't you do like driveway shoveling for like smaller driveways? I don't kill yourself with a huge driveway or something, but do like driveway shoveling. And while you're there with the client, who's probably going to need you more than once over the course of a winter, let them know, like, we have a junk removal business. So when this all clears up, give us a call and we can go ahead and clean up some of your yard debris or some of the stuff in your house. You're marketing while you are doing a side job to make extra money for the winter. You could go around and pick up maybe, if you live in somewhere that snows a lot, maybe pick up like firewood or something and bring it to their front area. And then, again, market your business. Like, you're just providing labor. And these are things that doesn't really require skill to do. So those are just two quick examples. You can also push for your Christmas tree removal when the time comes, or even Christmas tree delivery. I mean, if you have a pickup truck, let people know, hey, we'll pick up a tree for you. If you just put it on hold, we'll deliver it to you. We'll help you set it up. And when it dies, we'll haul it away for you. You know, you can even offer like a discounted rate. But what you're doing is you're building rapport with somebody new so that when that time comes, they may end up being a new repetitive client with you. They've already met you for the Christmas tree pickup, super happy because most people don't have a truck to do it. So they're strapping it to the top of the car. Usually scratches it one way or another. It's hard for them to haul it into their house. Set it up is always a pain if it's a big tree. So that may be something you can push for. All you're doing is adding on services to put your face in front of somebody else's so that now you can market your business to them. And again, these are all skills these are all tasks that don't really require a lot of skill. It's just time and labor, which is what our business is all about. So I would be creative with it and try to find things like that don't require you to have to, walk around on thin ice with your insurance company, or you don't have to worry about, I'm going to fuck up this job. Like, I don't know how you can screw up shoveling somebody's driveway unless you do the wrong neighbor and then you have to go back and do the other one. I don't know. But maybe you could market to them too while you're at it. So those are just some ideas. Save time, save money, try to pick up different ways to make money while saving at the same time, and try to find some side jobs to do to help bring money into your pocket so you're not so reliant on just junk removal when the business slows down. This is good for people who have like part-time jobs too. So like if you have a part-time job and junk removal starts to slow down, talk to your boss and say, hey, can I pick up one more day a week? And when it starts picking up at your business, then say, hey, I need to go back to my original schedule. I did that with the moving company all the time. It would slow down in the fall and winter for junk removal, and I was a part-time business owner. So it would slow down in moving too, but, I would say, hey, I don't have any jobs lined up tomorrow. Can I come work? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'll have you on the schedule. I'll be here at 7 a.m. Done. Super easy. But it was a good way to just make sure my schedule was always full. So one way or another, I was making money. So that's about the gist of everything I would recommend. I mean, there's more out there, and I could go on for another 25 minutes. But for the most part, those are the things I would personally focus on. Those are things that I've learned from just doing stuff myself, learning just from over time from other business owners, especially junk removal, from the moving companies and so on. So just try to do what you can you don't have to so much nickel and dime everything and be depressed for 4 months, but just try to cut back on expenses so that you're not overwhelming yourself if you don't have that income coming in. And as far as like, people have asked me like, should I cut back on my Google ads? I don't run a Google ads, so I can't say. That's not my field. I don't know if it's good to cut back on it or to just keep it going and, treat it like a stock. When you buy into stock, the objective is to buy and hold. So you're going to have ups and downs, but over time it's going to end up, doing better than it would have. So I always assume that's how Google ads is, based on the fact that you need like a couple of months to build tread just to get in there. So I can't comment on that other than that is what I would do just based on that analogy that I just mentioned. So we are going to head off to our estimate, and then I think that is it for the day unless something pops up. And then we're going to an event tonight. We were invited by a realtor to come by. He's basically doing a giant cocktail hour for basically all contractors that they've worked with this year so far as like a thanks for helping us out. So there's going to be a bunch of other services there that I can network with while I get free food. So that should be kind of fun.